guys, Sean here, Metal Mercs, coming back in the armchair, looking at my second ramble. First I'd like to say thanks to everybody who replied to the first ramble, really good. Had some nice conversation with people. It seems an awful lot of you out there feel exactly the same way I do about things, and this hobby's got to be fun. That's what's the point in doing it. For me, it's got to be fun, got to be the best thing about the hobby. I'd also like to say it's not going to be as long this one as the first one was. I've got a few topics to talk about with you, and you can give your opinions in your usual way with the comments and that if you don't agree with what I have to say, and if you do, it'd be nice just to hear from you. The first thing I want to talk about, because it's quite fresh in my mind at the moment, is magazines and magazines and hobby. There's been a few podcasts recently going on about the magazines, the future of magazines. Are magazines still good for us? And I have to say, first and foremost, me personally, magazines, great. They've been the backbone of the hobby for such a long time, and I know everything comes to us online these days, and all the companies have their own websites, but I have to say that I still have time for those magazines. They were the backbone, and I think it's for us to keep supporting them and keep getting them if we can, all of them that are out there, because the hobby's big enough for them. It's not as if it costs us an awful lot of money, and you always might spot something. You might read it 3 or 4 months in a row and think there's nothing really in there for me, but there's some nice little bits and bobs. But then there's the one time you'll see something I never even thought of that, or I really like the look of those. So that's that link. And what I'd also like to say, as we're talking, is if there's anyone out there from War Games Illustrated watching, or anybody who knows anyone from the team at War Games Illustrated, I love the magazine, guys. I love what you guys do. Always did right before with Duncan, and still do to this day. But I have to tell you all, it was a funny experience for me over the last few weeks. And when I say funny, I mean funny. They were advertising, as many of us know, on Facebook for an in-house painter, and they were just looking for interest. And so my wife said to me, why don't you give it a go? You've been painting all these years. Loads of stuff that's been in War Games Illustrated in the past. Masses of stuff. Sometimes people didn't even know it was mine that was put in, but it was. And I thought, I'll give it a go, see what they have to say. A lot of people were negative and dissing it and saying that they won't want to pay the money and stuff like that, but that wasn't interesting me. It's the magazine I've always loved, so I'll give it a go. And I sent them some information, told them about my stuff, absolutely fine. And then the funny thing that happened to me was on the day where they were doing all the shortlist and everything, on the next morning I got a message from them, quite good, telling me my sort of stuff wasn't really what they were looking for the magazine, and that was absolutely fine, and I accepted that absolutely fine, no problem. It was worth a try, give it a go. But what was really funny was then, about 2 hours later, on their online magazine, the War Games Illustrated Prime, they decided to put up an old article showing everybody what kind of articles were in the past, not to forget that we're all there. And the article put up had a lot of my artwork in it, my painting stuff. And we just laughed. We laughed. I said, look at that, I can't believe that. It's something you couldn't write in a comedy script, could you? It just wouldn't happen. But it did. But I'm saying now, quite clearly, I still love you guys at War Games Illustrated, and it was a funny. That's all it really was. So as for myself, I'm still quite happy doing the commissions I do for people. I'm still happy moving along. Would have been nice to paint in War Games Illustrated, but you never know. I had that many articles I had in the past. Pictures might appear in the future with some of my stuff in for new articles, because I know they got a massive archive. A lot of it they got from Duncan, which is where my pictures came from originally. And they probably will. So, but well done, you guys out there. Well done to all the magazines. Keep giving us the topics. Keep pouring stuff in for us. We really like what you do. We really like going out and getting the stuff. Used to get mine from local hobby shops. I think I subscribe to War Games Illustrated now, but I still am able to pick up the other two from people. So that I do get. So I'm happy with that. But what do you guys think about the future of magazines? Do you think we're going to lose them in the future because of such a massive amount of online content that's coming? Me personally, I hope not. The next topic I'd like to talk about is rule sets. And I have to say, I have noticed more and more recently, there seems to be an absolute abundance of rules coming out on the market for just about everything. I can remember back in the day when I first started, when there was 2 or 3 sets of rules that covered the periods that you were interested in, and they were very intense and very inclusive of lots and lots of things, and you had to flick through page after page after page, but they were the rules that were available, and they were the rules that people had to use. And then as the years developed and moved on, more and more of the rule sets started to look towards a more fun factor for your games and how to play your games. They took away some of that content of looking for the nth degree and started to looking at trying to make the games quicker, and trying to adapt things from those older games that they could make easier for people to understand first and foremost, and easier for people to play if they just come along to the hobby. And then the skirmish world started to take a grip, following along many of the themes. Skirmish gaming become quite dominant, and I think that's down to the rule sets that become available as well. Obviously, with rule sets, the thing is today it's an awful lot easier, I think, to get the written word out to the public, to the people, to the gamers. Whereas I suppose when I first started gaming as such, it wasn't that simple. It could cost a lot of pennies to put together a rule set, especially if you wanted to put colour in it, which is why many of the rule sets that came along didn't have any colouring at all, just purely simply the rules there for you. But things developed, things moved on, and now I think we like to choose the set of rules that we want. There's no problem with that at all. I think it's a great idea. But I think rule sets started to play on those pretty shiny things, soldiers that we played, and amazingly now more and more and more rule sets are coming out with beautiful, beautiful artwork all over them, picture after picture after picture. And just recently, I've been playing a lot of the skirmish games that are around in different periods, and like nearly all of us out there, and I know you're all probably in the same boat as me, I have an absolute massive different rules going way, way back for many, many different periods and different things. And I was about to, you can see set out on the side of me here, I'll put a picture of this at the end of this ramble, but I was about to look at another game of Infamy with the stuff that I'd got, and I had this thing in my head about the rules, and I said to myself, what are the rules that I have that I could play with my ancients? I've got Hail Caesar, quite enjoyed that, but I've not got an awful lot of figures, because as we know with the Infamy you're in groups of 8 and things like that, and I thought, but what I have got is I've got 2 groups and 3 groups, and some I've only got the 1, and I dug out my old Warhammer Ancients, and I thought, I wonder if I look through Warhammer Ancients, look at what they suggest, whether I could play a game of Warhammer Ancients with the figures that I've got. In the book they suggest 1,000 points, and so I looked at the figures I actually had for my Year of the 4 Emperors, as you guys know I've been doing. And I realised by sorting the figures I had into units, not necessarily having as big a ones as they recommend in the book, but when it comes to the skirmishes, that was absolutely fine because with what they recommend. And I realised I could do the 1,000 points aside. I could have 5 or 6, 7, 8 units aside. The cavalry are usually, they recommend 6s, 8s and 10s, and we've got 6s. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a Roman Civil War battle using ancient battles. So that's what I've got set up for now. A little bit of a change for me, but again, it was about rules. I started to think about rules. I started to think about great rules that have gone past in the past that we seem to have moved away from simply because of all the new stuff that come out. I think the new rule designers wanted us to stop using the old rules. I just think they wanted to give us more and more options of the kind of games that we want to play. So I think, yeah, what do you guys all think out there about rules that have come and gone? I know a lot of the earlier rules were so involved, But tell me what you think. If you understand what I'm saying, you know, there are some great rule sets out there. Been around for an awful long time, but there are an awful lot of rule sets coming out. And the thing for me, what sparked it off was I saw that there's more and more rule sets coming out on War of the Roses. I think they're catching up now. So as many years as the War of the Roses were being fought, with as many battles, there are nearly now as many rule sets. Another thing about rules as well is a lot of rules seem to come out with the same theme. We've, you know, someone will come up with an idea of maybe using cards, and then card rules appear, or initiative, things for initiative, and then a lot of initiative kind of games appear. We seem to go through phases with different styles. Tell me what you think about that as well, guys. I think that's a good one. The last thing I want to talk about is, it's an important thing to me, I think, is wargame shows. I know the shows are about to start again, thanks to all the finish with lockdown. And I know quite a lot of people in the trade. And I've talked to traders recently about what it is that they're thinking about the shows in the future. And I think a lot of the traders through the lockdown period, what they've realised is wargame shows were good, but it's a lot of time and effort and cost involved for them. And I know this might be a bit controversial, but I always used to find, when in my days when I was a trader, that you paid an awful lot to go to some of these shows. You had a lot of things to do. You had to book vehicles, you had to book places to stay, you turned up, you set your stand up, you did all that kind of thing. And if there wasn't a massive amount of people that came through the door, if you covered your costs, that was about as far as you got. Apart from obviously some of the bigger companies, I think they knew they were going to make it. But a lot of the traders, I think it was hit and miss for them. And I think through lockdown, they've realised that the online world is a world that's growing for them, and we all like that online world, don't we? We wouldn't be doing the kind of things we're doing now. And the thing for me is what I'm asking really is, do we think the shows are going to continue in the way that they were? Do you think shows might need to have to adapt? I know that a lot of the shows that I went to when I was a trader put on a fantastic set up for everybody to do the best that they can possibly do. But I also think there's a lot where the shows do what they need to do. Will we go back to the same way as we were before? Will we want to head out 8-10 times a year, heading in all different directions? Are we seeing there's more and more things for us to see, and there's pretty and the shiny things, as we used to call them, that are online? Everybody's showing us fantastic artwork and things, aren't they, from different companies? Everybody's doing the unboxings, everybody's doing the paint ups. But I don't want people to get me wrong. For me, loved the shows. Even when I was a trader, I know it might be sounding like I don't, but I did. I loved the shows. I loved the banter, I loved the connection, I loved talking with the people. Maybe that's what the great thing will be in the future for the shows. You've still been able to get that connection. You guys tell me. I don't know. It's all down to you. So there you go. That's the end of my banter from the chair, my ramble this week. I hope it's give you food for thought. That's all it was meant to do. I don't want anybody to feel as though I was attacking anybody in any way, shape or form. It's just purely my banter, my ramble from my armchair out there to you guys. Tell me what you think, and I'll put a picture on of something different. Warhammer Ancient Battles. See you all soon.